In Ituri province in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where Mercy Corps is providing life-saving assistance, more than 1.7 million people are displaced and nearly half of the population, or 2.8 million people, face critical levels of hunger. In Nyakunde, just an hour from the capital Bunia, the local population have just returned home after conflict in April 2021 forced them to flee to neighboring towns. The Mercy Corps emergency team received this information through our alert system.
The Congo Humanitarian Analysis Team receives information about population movements from populations themselves or sometimes from other agencies that are working in the area. In the case of Nyakunde, they heard about a return movement of about 2,000 households returning from a displacement due to conflict. We analyzed this alert and decided it matched the mandate of the SAFER program, so we decided to respond.
Ile siku tulikimbia, si tulikuwa na batoto kumungini, hatukujua kama nini ilipitika kule. Tunanja sikia tu sauti ya masasi inanja lia. Tunaona batu bananja beba mzigo na mimi nikaona inakuwa ya kukimbia, mimi nabeba mzigo pia mimi nakimbia. Tulienda kwa mama, alitupokea, alikuwa mama ya kanisa. Alikuwa na shamba yake, tulikuwa naenda fanya parajuru. Alitupatia salo yake, tulikala kusalo. Tulikuwa nalalia mayani ya ndizi. Tulilalisha tu batoto pale, hakukuwa na ya kufanya. Paka ile zoruba ya kwetu huku ikaisha na sisi tulirudiana tu kunalalia tu ile mayani ya ndizi, tulikaa na tosha na kuingisha.
Kurudia hapa hatukukuta kitu hata moja ndani ya nyumba. Tulikuta mlango yote wamevunjika, wanabomola mlango yote. Na tunafika tunaikala tu, tunaanza tengeneza lupango na tunaikala. Mambo tuliteseka sana kwa hali ya ukimbizi. Tulikuwa saidia ingine kuvula nguo ya mtu, atakupatia namuna ya kukula. Tukaona hivi inakuwa matata, njoo tunarudia.
After we decided to intervene, we sent a team in the area to do a needs assessment. While our team was in the area, families continued to return from their displacement location. So ultimately, we ended up serving 6,500 households through the SAFER program in August. SAFER is a consortium of 5 partners led by Mercy Corps, financed by UK Aid and ECHO. It's a rapid response program that provides basic life-saving emergency assistance to people who are displaced primarily by conflicts. The reason we do rapid one-off assistance is because we recognize that the needs when families are displaced by conflict or when they're coming back to their homes after a conflict are extremely high. They've usually abandoned everything they own. They have very limited access to things like food, clothes, and basic household items. One of the first steps we take in a SAFER intervention is conducting a market analysis, which tells us how we should deliver assistance to our participants. In some cases, we give cash. In other cases, when the markets are maybe not so well established, we set up a voucher fair. Basically, we create a small market with local vendors and we give the participants vouchers that act as cash. This allows them to choose whatever they think is most important for their family and gives a bit more dignity to the process of assistance.
Namna tuliingia, hatukukuwa na kitu hata moja. Nyumba tulikuta wazi, vitu yote iliporwa. Mercy Corps kwa kazi yake ya kwanza tulipata matela, tulikuwa nalala chini, hatukukuwa na kitu hata moja, sufuria kukua. Tunapata nusu ya malaki inapatikana, mafuta, savo, pale tulipima kusaidiwa kwanza. Na yele tena Mercy Corps anaturudilia tena.
After the SAFER assistance, we found that the needs in Nyakunde were still very strong, particularly food security needs. Lots of people lost access to their fields because there were still conflicts in neighboring areas, and so we decided it was appropriate to intervene with another program, PHASE, which is an emergency food security program. Whereas SAFER is focused on getting people through the initial month of displacement or return by meeting their basic needs, Phase is focused more on interim food security. So we want to make sure they have a predictable supply of nutritious food and that they're also able to restart their livelihood and farming activities. In November, we set up a food fair through the Phase program, which offered grains, meats, vegetables, cooking oils, things like that. For many of these returning families, this is the first time they had protein in a long time.
Kutoka kurudia hapa tulikuwa na miezi mbili. Kutoka ku Mercy Corps tulisaidiwa na matela na chungu na vitu kidogo ya kukula. Tulifurahi kwa kupata ile yote. Tongia tulipata ile msaada ya mbele, tulikuwa jere na ingine tu kuna tafuta kidogo kidogo vile kushamba kwa kutusaidia mpaka kufika siku ya leo.
Anaona hali yetu hatuwezi weza. Anatupigania na iko haki, hatungeweza, tungekufa na batoto. Njala ilikuwa matata sana hapa kwetu, lakini Mercy Corps yele leo tena anaturudisha tena, tunapokea tena zawadi kutoka kwake. Tunapata mchele, tunapata malaki, tunapata mafuta. Tunashukuru sana kenye Mercy Corps alitupatia ndani ya community yetu ya hapa Bulamuzi.
Mabadiliko tunaona kwa juu Mercy Corps anatufundisha namna kuleta mboleo kwa udongo, anatuletea ba majani, ba kitu fulani fulani ya kukoleza udongo hivi udongo isichoke hata ikuwe wakati ya jua. Hapa batu balikuwa nauza mboga, lakini siye kujua makali ile hatukuuza mboga. Tulikula mboga yetu sengi. Kwa juu ya nini? Avantage ya ile mboleo ile balitufundisha nini? Angalia mboka namna kuna chelewa pale. Kwa sababu ya nini? Iko na nini? Na avantage ya mboleo ya bulongo. Hivi mbele tulikuwa mwangaka tu, ona kwanja parti ile ya pale, ile pale alikuta isha kauka. Kwa juu atukufanya hivi, iko tu kulima tu na unapanda, lakini bila kutia mboleo juu ya udongo. Ile ndio tunashukuru kwa juu anatufundisha maneno ya ile tutaishi naye siku mingi na miaka mingi tutaendelea kufanya.
While we were working in Nyakunde, we had a huge population of displaced people fleeing a conflict in a neighboring area. This nearly doubled the population in Nyakunde and created a lot of pressure on local water resources and sanitation infrastructure like latrines and showers. Mercy Corps decided to implement a third program in the area in order to address these needs. Under the REACH program, one of our first priorities was to address the water needs of the huge displaced population. A lot of them were living in really crowded conditions in schools and churches, so we set up some water bladders in 2 locations that were filled up twice a day in order to provide people clean drinking water. This is a temporary solution while we consult the local community to identify water sources that we can rehabilitate to provide a more permanent water source. Mercy Corps' emergency programs in DRC, SAFER, financed by UK Aid, and REACH and Phase, financed by USAID, offer a lot of flexibility to respond to whichever needs we find on the ground. In the case of Nyakunde, we were able to use all 3 programs in a complementary way to ensure that initial life-saving needs were met following a shock, and also that longer-term food, water, and livelihood needs were addressed in order to help people put their lives back together.